My dad lied once, and I blindly believed him. That day, I kicked my own son out of the house. I can still see the way his duffel bag dragged across the hardwood floor, the zipper scraping as he yanked it shut. He was 20, barely a man, but the way his eyes locked on mine that night made me feel smaller than him. "Mom," he said, voice breaking, "why don't you believe me?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. My dad's voice had filled the room hours before. Steady, grave, certain. "He stole from you. Don't let him stay here. It's the only way he'll learn." So I stood there, arms crossed, pretending my heart wasn't splitting open. I told myself I was strong, that this was tough love, that I was doing the right thing. "Go," I whispered. And he went. The door closed, but the sound was louder than any scream I've ever heard. My chest hollowed out like he'd taken the air with him. I didn't chase him. I didn't even cry until I heard my dad in the kitchen, humming like nothing had happened. 3 years later, the hospital lights flickered above me, cold and sterile. My dad lay in the bed, tubes running from his arms, his face pale and sagging like wax left too close to heat. "They say I need a kidney," he muttered, weak but sharp enough to stab me with guilt. "Your boy owes me. Call him." I did. For the first time in 3 years, my son walked back into a room where I sat. He was taller, harder, eyes no longer the soft brown I remembered. They were glass, unbreakable. The nurse explained the situation. My son listened, silent. Then he looked at me, not at his grandfather, at me, his mother. "You threw me away for his lie," he said, voice low enough to make the room freeze. "And now you want me to save him." Everyone held their breath. The machines beeped, steady and cruel. My dad groaned, reaching out a trembling hand. But my son didn't move. His lips curled into something between sorrow and defiance. And then he spoke the words that would shatter us all. The words slammed into me like broken glass. "I won't save him." Silence carved the room in half. My father's breath hitched, the monitor beeped faster, and I sat there, shaking, unable to form a single word. My son didn't yell, didn't curse, didn't even blink. He simply let the words settle in the air like ash after fire. The fragments of the night I threw him out began to replay in my mind, jagged and cruel. The slam of the duffel bag, the shadow of him standing under the streetlight, waiting for me to call him back. The way my father stood behind me, hand on my shoulder, whispering, "Good, he'll learn." I clutched the armrest of the chair, so tightly my nails dug into the vinyl. "Please," I whispered, but my voice cracked. "Don't do this. He's your grandfather." My son's jaw tightened. His eyes flicked toward the bed, then back to me. "Grandfather," he asked, "the man who spread lies just to see me gone? Or the man you trusted more than your own son?" Every word was a knife, twisting deeper. My father groaned, lifting his hand weakly. "Ungrateful boy," he rasped. "After everything I've done. Everything you've done." My son's voice finally rose, sharp and searing. "You turned my own mother against me. You made her believe I was a thief. You laughed when I left with nothing. Do you know what I slept on for months? Do you know what jobs I took just to eat?" I gasped. My chest tightened. He hadn't told me, hadn't called, hadn't written. I had pictured him angry, but safe, not broken by survival. My father's lie had stretched like a chain across years, shackling all of us. "I was 19, my son said, softer now, but every syllable carried the weight of years. 19, and the woman who was supposed to protect me locked the door behind me. My throat closed. I wanted to reach for him, to hold him, to apologize until my voice was gone. But he stepped back, shoulders straight, face unreadable. "If you think I'll bleed for him after that," he said, "then maybe you don't know me at all anymore." And just like 3 years ago, he turned toward the door. This time it was my turn to beg. "Wait, wait," I said, louder this time. the word tearing out of me like it had been trapped for years. But my son didn't stop. He stood by the door, his hand on the metal handle, eyes steady on me. The room blurred, hospital walls bending into something else. My mind yanked me back to the last courtroom I had ever stood in. It was 2 years ago. Family court. My father had dragged me there, filing some absurd motion about financial guardianship, claiming I was too emotional to manage what little inheritance my mother had left behind. He stood tall, polished, lying through his teeth while I sat silent, broken. My son wasn't there to defend me. He wasn't even invited, because back then I still believed my father. The judge's gavel, the shuffle of papers, the icy words. Based on the testimony provided, we will appoint Mr. Carson as temporary custodian of the funds. I remembered gripping the table, realizing I had just handed him more control, more power to twist my life into knots. And now here he was, lying in a hospital bed, tubes keeping him alive, a man who had stolen not just money, not just years, but the trust between a mother and her son. "Please," I said again, my voice trembling, "don't walk out on me. Not like this." My son's gaze flickered. For a split second, I thought I saw the boy he used to be, the one who left notes on the fridge reminding me to smile, the one who fixed the leaky faucet without being asked. But then his jaw set again, iron hard. He stepped closer, but not to me, to my father's bed. "You want his life saved?" he asked, not even looking at me. "Then you tell the truth. Right here. Right now. Everything." My father's lips pressed into a thin line, his face paling further. "This isn't the place." "It's the only place," my son cut him off. "You stole her money. You lied to her face. You turned her against her own child. Say it, or die with your silence." The beeping of the monitors quickened, like even the machines waited for the verdict. And in that sterile room, with fluorescent lights burning overhead, I realized this wasn't just about a kidney. This was a trial, a reckoning. My son wasn't leaving. He was demanding justice. And God help me, I wasn't sure if I was ready to hear the truth. My father's voice cracked, the sound brittle as old paper. I only did what was necessary," he muttered. My son leaned closer, his arms crossed, a silhouette of judgment. "Necessary? Tell her what you told me. Tell her why you did it." The words dragged me back, unwilling, into the night my life split in two. I had been sitting at the kitchen table, bills spread out, exhaustion carving lines in my face. My father had walked in, carrying that same smug certainty he always wore like cologne. "He took from you," he said. I looked up, startled. "What do you mean?" "Your boy," he whispered, shaking his head. "Cash gone from your purse. Don't cover for him. He's been sneaking money. I caught him." I remember the heat rushing to my cheeks, the sting of betrayal, the disbelief drowning out reason. And my father, so convincing, pressing a $50 bill onto the table as though it were evidence carved in stone. "Don't let him destroy you," he said. "Kick him out before he drags you down." I hadn't asked questions. I hadn't checked. I had believed him, just like I had believed him in court, just like I had believed him my whole life. Now, back in the hospital, I stared at my father, my chest tight with shame. "Dad," I whispered, "tell me the truth." His jaw trembled. The beeping monitor ticked faster. Finally, with a raspy exhale, he spoke. "I wanted him gone. He reminded me of your mother. The same stubborn eyes, the same defiance. And you always bent for him. I couldn't stand it, so I made sure he left." The room spun. I gripped the armrest to anchor myself, while rising in my throat. My son's hands curled into fists, his nostrils flaring. "You destroyed me," he said. "For what?" "To keep control." My father's lips twisted into something between a sneer and a plea. "Control keeps a family together." "No," my son said, his voice shaking with fury. "Control rips it apart." He turned to me then, and his eyes, God, those eyes were filled with a pain I had carved there myself. You chose him over me, he whispered. So now you live with him. And his sickness. And as those words dropped, heavier than the beeping of machines, I realized forgiveness was not waiting in this room. Only consequences. The words hit me like a verdict. You chose him over me. So now you live with him. And his sickness. I blinked, and suddenly my mind unraveled backward, moments folding in reverse like film running the wrong way. 3 years ago, the door slammed shut. Earlier that night, the duffel bag dragged, his shoulders hunched. Earlier still, my father's voice, low and poisonous, planting lies. Even earlier, my son laughing in the kitchen, offering me a plate of burnt eggs he called dinner, proud and sheepish all at once. And even earlier, my father's scowl muttering, "He's a disappointment. You'll regret relying on him." Each memory ran in reverse until I was left staring at the starting point. Me, sitting at the kitchen table, listening to my father's lie as though it were gospel. And now, back in the fluorescent-lit hospital, I couldn't run the film forward anymore. The reel was broken. My father coughed, weak, pulling me out of the spiral. "You can't just abandon me," he rasped. "I'm family." But my son stepped closer, his shadow falling across the bed. "Family? You used that word like a leash. Family means loyalty, love, sacrifice. You gave none of that. You fed her poison until she believed you over her own child." The beeping machines filled the silence. I wanted to scream, to beg, to undo every second of the past 3 years. But my voice was buried under the rubble of all the choices I'd made. "Please," I whispered, looking at my son, "don't punish me through him. Don't carry this weight forever." For the first time, his eyes softened, but only slightly. "Mom, I already carried it. Every freezing night. Every shift, scrubbing dishes, while you thought I was a thief. I carried it until it hardened me. Now I put it down." He turned, his hand already reaching for the door. My father tried to lunge forward, but the tubes restrained him. "You'll regret this," my father croaked, his voice breaking. But my son didn't even look back. "No," he said flatly. "I regret nothing anymore." The door clicked shut behind him, and for the first time in my life, I didn't know which man in that room had truly destroyed me more, the father who lied or the son I had lost. The door closed, and the silence it left behind became unbearable. My father's wheezing filled the room, every breath a reminder of how little time was left. I sat frozen, tears blurring my vision, until a nurse came in to adjust his fore. She gave me a look, professional, but edged with curiosity. "Family disputes happen here more than you think," she said softly. "Sometimes people walk away for good." Her words stung. Walk away for good. My son's silhouette replayed in my mind, a story in itself, one I had helped write. And in that silence, I started telling myself a story, almost like a bedtime tale. Not for comfort, but to survive. Once there was a boy who trusted his mother with his whole heart. He fixed things around the house, left notes to make her laugh, believed she'd always protect him. But one night, the boy was accused of stealing. The mother believed the accuser, not the boy. The boy begged, pleaded, but the mother locked the door. The boy walked into the night, alone. My throat ached as I whispered it inside my head, watching my father's chest rise and fall. The boy grew hard. The boy built walls. The boy carried hunger and cold like scars. And when fate brought him back to the mother, he no longer trusted her touch. The boy was gone, and in his place stood a man who had nothing left to give. I swallowed back a sob. This wasn't just his story. It was mine too. And my father, the liar at the center, wasn't just a character. He was the author who had twisted every chapter to his advantage. "You're killing him," I hissed suddenly, turning on my father, "not with sickness, with your lies, with what you've stolen." His eyes opened, clouded but still sharp enough to wound. He was weak. You were weak. I had to keep this family in line. No, I said, voice breaking. You destroyed this family. And you destroyed me. For once, he didn't have an answer. The only sound was the hiss of oxygen and the mechanical hum of machines. And in that moment, I realized, if this was a story, then I had been nothing but a supporting role in his narrative. My son had been the casualty. But maybe, just maybe, I could rewrite the ending. Her voice, me. The night pressed in on me, heavy and suffocating. I sat at my father's bedside, but it wasn't just the beeping machines I heard. It was the echo of my son's footsteps leaving, the same sound as 3 years ago. I wanted to run after him, to collapse at his feet, to scream apologies until my throat tore. But I couldn't move. My body was rooted to the chair, chained by guilt. His voice, my son. I walked through the hospital corridor, fluorescent lights flickering above me. Every step both freeing and unbearable. My chest ached, but not with pity, with memory. The night she threw me out, the way her eyes had hardened, even as her hands trembled. The weight of the duffel bag, the cold air hitting my face as the door locked behind me. She chose him, and tonight proved she would always choose him, no matter how much it broke her. Her voice. I stared at my father, his shallow breaths rattling. I hated him, and yet part of me still sought his approval. That toxic gravity had pulled me into orbit my whole life, and now I had dragged my own son into it too. The shame was unbearable. I ruined him, I whispered, but no one answered. His voice. I should have left. I should have kept walking. But outside the hospital doors, the night air froze me in place. For the first time, I realized I wasn't leaving just my grandfather behind. I was leaving her. The woman who had tucked me in as a boy, who taught me how to ride a bike, who held my hand after nightmares. The same woman who had locked me out with a whisper, go. Her voice. I pressed my palms to my face. If I could trade my life for his forgiveness, I would. But that's not how life worked. Guilt wasn't currency. Love wasn't guaranteed. Please, I whispered to the empty room, come back. His voice. I stopped under the streetlight outside, the same kind of light I had stood beneath 3 years ago. Only this time, I wasn't waiting for her to call me back. I was deciding if I could ever forgive. My fists clenched, then loosened. Her voice. And just as I gave up hope, the door creaked open. Footsteps. My heart lurched. The door creaked, and I looked up. My son stood there, not the boy I had once known, but the man those years had carved. His face was unreadable, but his eyes carried the weight of every night he had endured without me. I stood slowly, my knees shaking. I'm sorry, I whispered, the words too small for the wound I had created. I chose him over you. I believed a lie and lost my son. For a long moment, silence ruled the room. My father stirred in the bed, his lips parting. Don't waste time, he rasped, voice ragged. The doctors tell him to save me. My son's gaze never left mine. You want him to live, he asked. His tone was calm, almost cruel in its clarity. Then you take responsibility. Every truth you've buried, say it. Right here, right now. I turned to my father, my hands trembling. Tell him, I pleaded. Tell him you lied. But my father only scowled, his pride too heavy to release. The beeping of the monitor faltered, jagged and erratic. He would rather die than confess. And in that moment, I understood. I could not make my father choose truth. But I could. I stepped closer to my son, my voice breaking. He lied. He made me believe you stole from me. He twisted me against you because control was more important to him than love. I let him dictate my choices, and I destroyed us. But you, my voice cracked. You were never guilty. My son's chest rose and fell sharply, his hands tightening at his sides. The truth hung between us, raw and bleeding but alive. Behind us, my father's breath hitched. The machines screamed their warning. Nurses rushed in. But he, stubborn, unrepentant, turned his face away, eyes closing without a word of redemption. The weight in the room shifted. Not lighter, but final. My son looked at me, and for the first time in years I saw the boy again, buried under scars, but still there. He didn't forgive me, not yet. Maybe not ever. But he nodded once, a gesture that meant, I heard you. I see you now. And as the machines fell silent, I realized poetic justice had arrived. My father left this world with lies in his mouth, but my son left me with something else, one fragile thread of hope.